Hello and welcome to Thursday's science session. So today we are going to be looking at inheritance. So we're moving on from evolution and we're going to think of what things are inherited, what things can you inherit, and different things like that. So as a warm-up, there are 3 different animals on the screen. Which one do you think is the odd one out and why? So pause the video and have a little think about it. Okay, now, like when we do these in school, you could choose any of them for any reason, really. But hopefully you notice that they are all a mixture of 2 different things. So here we've got something called a zedonk, which is a mix between a zebra and a donkey. So you can see the stripy legs there. Then we've got a liger, which is a lion and a tiger. And of course, we've got a labradoodle. So a Labrador and a poodle. Now, you could have picked anyone for any different reason. But you might have noticed that this one is a mix of 2 dogs, whereas these 2 are 2 different animals. These 2 are not animals that you'd often find. They have been specifically bred that way in a zoo, whereas you'd see lots of labradoodles out on the streets and things like that, although you wouldn't necessarily see a tiger out on the street. But like I said, it could have been any of those for a different number of things, but hopefully you spotted they were all a mixture. So what do we think the word characteristic means? Now the word characteristic means something that you have got. So it might be a characteristic of yourself is that you've got blue eyes. It might be that you have blonde hair. So those sorts of things are all characteristics of yourself. So what I want you to do is have a look at somebody else in your house. It might be one of your parents. It might be one of your siblings, just anyone else that is currently in your house. What I want you to have a think about is, can you identify some of their characteristics? So what colour eyes do they have? What colour hair do they have? Do they have freckles? Things like that. And is there anything that is the same or different to you? So do you have the same colour hair? Do you have the same colour eyes? Okay, so have a pause of the video and then go and find somebody and just compare yourselves. Okay, so hopefully you managed to spot things that are similar and are different. And we're going to look at why that is. So a characteristic is a feature of an organism. So lots of things have characteristics. It could be something we see, like our hair colour, or something we can't see, like what type of blood we are. Now, hopefully, if you ask your parents, somebody might know what type of blood you are. That's not something that you'd be able to tell just from looking at yourself. All humans have different combinations of characteristics, meaning we all look different. So if you went to a sibling, if you have a sibling, you will have spotted some differences between you and your sibling, even though you share blood and you're related in one way or another. Okay, so the difference in our characteristics is called variation. So it's how much we vary from other people. So there is a short video clip. The YouTube link is posted in the resource section of the website underneath this lesson. So what I want you to do is have a pause and then just go and find that video, watch it, and then come back so you're a little bit clearer on what inheritance and characteristics are. Okay, hopefully then you've got a little bit more of information from that video. So what we're going to do today is something really fun, actually, is we're going to think about what characteristics and what features we have inherited, what features other people can inherit. And we're going to do this using Mr. Men characters. So on the screen, I have got a little child, a little person. Now, can you work out who his parents are? So I've given you some options here. Who do you think his parents are? Now, what you need to do is look really closely, not just at the shape, but at things like the mouth, the colour, the eyes, the nose. So pause the video and have a look. Can you work out who the parents are? Okay, hopefully you will have thought, this guy looks a lot like Mr. Sneeze. They've got the same shaped head. They've got the same shaped legs, okay? However, we also need to think about who Mr. Sneeze has had this child with on this side. And we're going to probably be looking at the colour because lots of the characteristics that this little guy has inherited have come from Mr. Sneeze. He's got the legs, he's got the head shape, he's got the same eyes, the same nose. His mouth is closed, which could suggest it's a different mouth and it's inherited from his mum, or it might not be. So we've got little things to work with because a lot of it is coming from Mr. Sneeze. But hopefully we'll have looked at the colour of this character, and he's got some yellow hair up here, well, blonde hair, and he's a light blue colour, which is not the same colour as Mr. Sneeze. So assuming that this character has inherited his colour and his hair colour, his skin colour and his hair colour from his mum, we would think that his mum is Little Miss Sporty. So well done if you got that one right. Let's have a look at another one. So we've got this guy. So have a look at the mothers, possible mothers and fathers. Who could be the dad and mum? Think about the features that they have inherited. So pause the video and have a think. Okay, hopefully we have spotted the colour. So the skin colour of this character. There's only one other character above that has the same colour skin, and that is Mr. Greedy. So it's very clear that Mr. Greedy must be his dad. And then to think about his mum, we can have a look. So we've got the body shape is very similar, along with the amount of hair he has. So the hands are similar to Mr. Greedy, as is the eyes and the mouth. The shoes, I mean, you don't actually inherit shoes, but for the purpose of this game, we're thinking about the shoes. And the body shape and the hair matches Little Miss Stubborn. So as you can see, that their features have combined along with other things to make it obvious where they have come from. And we're going to talk about things like shoes that you don't actually inherit from parents, but why they might give us a clue as well. Okay, another one, final one then. So this tiny guy, now this hopefully will be quite easy. So pause the video and have a look. Who do you think are his parents? Okay, hopefully you have spotted his little shape and his little hat and his colour. Now this is really obvious that he belongs to Mr. Small and Little Miss Tiny because he is tiny. The size of him is obvious. He's the same colour as Little Miss Tiny, and he shares the same body features as Mr. Small. So that was an easy one for you all. Okay, so children inherit features from their parents, okay? And I'm sure if you looked at your parents, you would spot some things that you've got similar, in similar characteristics with both of them, either of them. So if two parents have a certain characteristics, then their child may show it even more, which is what we got with the character we just looked at. We had Mr. Small and Little Miss Tiny. So the character was definitely going to be tiny because they were both small parents, okay? So if both parents have something, say, like blonde hair, their children are much more likely to also have blonde hair because they've got two of it that they could pass down. If both parents are very small, they can pass down their height. However, things like glasses, scars, muscles, things like our shoes, we get from our environment. They're not inherited. Things like the clothes we wear and things like that, we can get influenced by our parents and the way that we're brought up. But obviously we don't get passed down. Things like scars, things happen. You might cut yourself, you might have scars, you might be really fit and strong and healthy, but those things are from you and your environment, how you react, with your environment, how you act every day. Okay, so you get some things from your parents, which are inherited features, and then you get features from your environment all around you, so environmental features. So some inherited characteristics are things that are coded for by our genes, so little bits of DNA inside us, so that we've got a DNA code that makes us who we are. We get half our genes from our mother and half from our father, and when they fuse together, you may think you look more like your mum, for example, but you do have half your genes from each, but they might not be as visible. So if you get half your genes from your dad, they might not be as visible as what you get from your mum. But when DNA mixes together to create you, you get an equal amount from both. And environmental characteristics are determined by how we live, the choices we make, like what we eat, where we live. Some characteristics can be both, like height and weight, because food and the nutrients we get affect our height and weight and different bits of our bodies. So those things, even though you can be naturally tall or naturally shorter, you can change that or affect that as well by the way you live your life and what you do as well. So there are some things that could be a bit of both. So have a look at these things on the screen. What I want you to do is pause the video and decide whether you think there's something that is inherited, environmental, or a bit of both. So pause the video and have a think. Okay, so we've got some things that are really obvious. So things like your nose shape, your natural hair colour, your eye colour, those things are very, very definitely things that you inherit from your parents. There are things that are affected by your environment, but also that you could inherit. So again, we talked about height and weight, your accent, depending where you live. So if you inherit your parents' accent, their way of talking from living with them, and you move away somewhere else, your accent might change or develop. Your blood group, definitely, it comes from your parents. You can't change that. Scars we talked about were environmental. Tattoos, you choose to have tattoos, they're environmental. Religion, you might follow the same religion as your parents, but also you might choose to follow a religion that your parents don't follow, so that could be affected either way. Sporting ability, again, sort of comes with height and weight. You might be born and you might be naturally sporty, maybe your parents are both sporty, but also it can be affected by your environment and the way that you choose to live your life. Tongue rolling is actually an inherited characteristic. If you can roll your tongue, one of your parents can as well. So maybe that's something to have a little check. Can you roll your tongue, and can anyone else in your family? So we are made up of a mixture of different things. Things that we get from our environment, things that we get from our parents. And as you get older, those things will change as well. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have a look at both inherited and environmental factors, characteristics. And we're going to use our Mr. Men to show this. So what you're going to do is, on the website, there is a document with lots of characters from Little Miss and Mr. Men. And you're going to put them together and you're going to create what their child would look like. Now there's an example on the screen. So I have got Little Miss Trouble and Mr. Sneeze, and then I've combined different features, and you can choose whatever features you want to create what their child would look like. So remember, they have to get something from dad and something from mum. Now it might not be that everything's visible, so they might inherit their dad's blood group, but remember, you have to get something from either parent. So for example, the child I have created has got freckles that she's inherited from her mum. Her eyes and her nose she's got from mum and dad. So she's got the lines around her eyes like mum. She's got mum's shape nose, but dad's coloured nose, and she's got dad's eyes. So you can mix it up a little bit. You don't have to be exact. So they might have the mum's nose, but the dad's colour. She's got her hair colour from her mum. Her long legs are from her dad, and her mouth shape is from her mum. So you can see. So what you're going to do is you're going to combine and label where you've got each characteristic from. There's a little challenge over here if you want to, but don't worry about it if not.